It's hard to ignore the commotion around Jaguar Wright's most recent comments, right? A musician who has a reputation for speaking her thoughts without fear of repercussions has made harsh criticism of Barack and Michelle Obama, particularly in light of their alleged closeness to Beyoncé and Jay-Z. Her remarks were made with the blunt force that can either burn a room to the ground or hush it. Wright's remarks have sparked a debate that isn't going away. People are now questioning what's the real story behind these high-profile friendships? And why is no one in the mainstream asking the hard questions? Who, after all, speaks to their daughter in such a manner? Yes. Thus, after becoming engaged, Uche went there to receive a blessing. Yes, 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 exactly. Female with an androgynous appearance. Androgynous, she appears to be. Almost as manly as an open source. Yes, yes. They claim that I swear. Too much. When I use actual words, it seems like this. Yes, I am aware of it. That's like, these are strange. I'm simply trying to loop everything back in because I believe I need to reconnect with myself. Yes, for example, isn't one. Of them, a physician. The Tarina girl with the pizza face, that's her name, right? Tarina, KRS2? She is the hater, for heaven's sake. You see, I have her number. Used for proactive solution sales. Pay attention to me. And observe the impact it had on Alicia Keys. Near nothing, because I've recently heard from someone who claimed to have seen her that underscore was Mount St. Helens all over again. With volcanoes everywhere. She rubs in that Puff Daddy acne cream. Don't download Diddy. No, no, no. You see, she most likely would have made amends with a nature boy because, at the very least, they were vegan. You're going to come full circle to me, you know? Was that? Pork to his liking? No, we are unable to save everyone. Not everyone can be saved. You're about to return to me as well. I was about to inquire. Feel free to do so, 'cause, yes, pizza faces. Now, Tarina, doesn't she have a doctrine? Take a look at who is in that situation. Yes, dude. The pizza. The pizza. That's that sausage and peppers, I promise. Give Zod a shout out. There you have it, sausage with peppers. Even the texture adds up to you. I understand why she did this. Yo, that nasty because she despises them all because she wishes someone had intended to attack her. I truly dislike using in place of. Look at her. Able to look. Take a look at that. It's crazy to pray for assault. Take a look at it. They appear to be prosthetics. However, how can you trust a with that kind of face? All I want to know is, because, in her opinion, God had deceived her. She will tell falsehoods to everyone else. Take a look at her ass. Can you imagine why you're so ugly? Is it possible? If you're not JFK, you're Barack Obama. What is the reason? Behind your association with the Rat Pack? Jaguar breaks through the clutter with a sharp analogy. Consider the significance of that. There are no ordinary past presidents like Barack Obama. He is a symbol of world leadership, a two-term commander-in-chief, and a Nobel Peace Prize winner. Wright notes that, despite this, he has been spotted hanging out with some of the most well-known figures in entertainment, such as Beyoncé and Jay-Z. This raises eyebrows for her. Why is a person praised for having political dignity while they hang around with Sean Diddy Combs, a man whose social life has long been marred with scandal and rumors? It's a question that demands more than a casual shrug and comes off as a challenge. Informed us that Goomba actually departs from Dallas in order to trek to pick you up. We were attempting to meet in Little Rock, correct? It's like, let me just damn the plane, whatever that is. However, we were unable to locate a driver in time, correct? We simply needed to leave. So it's a complete so long to Chicago since I understood then that they had placed a net over the city, correct? As I was leaving after the second time the cameras went off, I said, it looks like I'm not leaving Chicago today. One of the officers, Officer Merrow, responded, thank goodness, man. I turned to face him and said, keeping me here is only guaranteeing that there's going to be more dead bodies in Chicago by nightfall. You just guarantee somebody's most likely going to die tonight, he replied, as long as you're here. Yes, I was escorted to baggage claim by foot. They followed me as though I were the enemy. Yes, indeed. No, I was sitting there while I was strolling through the airport. Frightful black woman is me. I'm here to murder you. Take a look. I approached a small child. I'm going to murder you. I'm black. Hold on a minute. You're at the airport? Then, I seem to be doing a lot at the airport, don't you think? For example, who gets a damn? You know, the federal government gets involved. It's me in a goddamn bus station with flying apparatuses in America. The federal government. A Fed file was sent to me. What did I say? I received a feed file. You guys are aware that I've had a Fed file since I was a teenager. For that reason, 2.5 years ago, you guys allowed someone to crack my. Well, that's a whole different story. You see, I was a victim. Whoa, you're experiencing a victim's. Oh wow, federal filing. Considering what was done to me following my ordeal in that car's trunk, only those with strong political relationships were able to get federal documents from minors from goddamn more than 20 years ago to be opened and released. However, as you are aware, Mr. Sean Carter is buddies with Chicago-born Barack Obama. It is worthwhile to review the history before dismissing Wright's criticism as mere celebrity rumors. The Obama's relationship with the Carters is well known. For years, it has been on public display. Beyoncé notably sang at Obama's 2013 inauguration. And Jay-Z was the main attraction at his 2008 campaign event in Ohio. Everyone recalls those occasions, right? However, press is harder. Are we observing innocuous, amicable partnerships, or have we been trained to overlook the potential hidden agenda? The subtext of her story may convey a completely different message than the polished optics. Music. Oh, say, can you see by the early morning light how pleased we were with the final escapees and bright stars during the battle for the ramparts at twilight? The rock is red, and we saw it trickling quite softly. The explosion of the bombs. There was still a flag in the air as it moved through the night. She is an advocate for the country of the free applause and the hope of the courageous. Yes, that is a famous man. She was obviously experiencing some kind of auditory issues. She briefly removed her earphone while singing, as you could see. Well, you wouldn't have realized from her performance that she was having any kind of difficulty. Her mention of deeds parties comes next. This isn't filler for tabloids. Years of rumors about what happens behind those locked doors are cited by Wright. For as long as these events have been going on, there have been accusations of secrecy, excess, and problematic behavior. According to her, when leaders with purported moral authority come into contact with places like these. Her fundamental query is straightforward. Is it appropriate for a former president and first lady to associate with groups that have such baggage? What those associations indicate about judgment and values is more important than the parties themselves. The president does, in fact, own an iPod. And you know, in addition to the fact that they are all on mine, both of them tell an American tale. I do, however, love you back, Jay-Z. Claps music now. I mentioned to Jay-Z the other day that our lives are quite similar. No, I believe that when they first met us as young men, no one would have predicted that we would be in this position. Now, both of us have daughters today, and our wives are more well-liked than we are. Wright's narrative about Beyoncé is arguably the most startling part of her critique. She claims that gospel singer Kim Burrell was once called by Jay-Z to assist Beyoncé, who was reportedly locked in a room rocking back and forth to gospel music for 12 hours. Even in the absence of context, the mental image is unsettling. If this claim is true, it raises important concerns. What might have caused one of the world's most influential entertainers to become so unstable? A darker background that contradicts the Polish perfection the audience is accustomed to witnessing is hinted at by Wright's speech. I knew from experience that I would be hard-pressed to find someone who cared more than Kimbrel, yet she turned into this hateful creature. You know what was terrible, though? was that churchgoers began to adopt the same narrative as the secular world. And I believe that I did shed a tear or two. The individual I grieved on that day because I realized that the church, which is the frontline social sphere, was not as strong against me or the message I spoke to protect. It was not sufficiently defended. There were other well-known gospel performers that went public, and I've worked really hard to keep nothing against them. And I still feel that way because they gave me one thing for a long time. But then they revealed their true emotions about it, and they kind of followed the famous people's lead. That, in my opinion, is because they want to be more well-known than kingdom-minded. That's what I think about them right now. That viewpoint is really true. Thus, I appreciate it. I got an end that comes from someone who has known me for a very long time, and I haven't changed. I adore people. People aren't even aware that I used to host homosexuals in my house, and I still do now. I will never, however, quit loving people. And I will always be honest about what I know. The American Constitution is one thing, but the Bible is also a part of my Constitution. Additionally, I will always stand on the structure of the Bible, and it seems better to do it than to believe that I didn't get to experience Ellen. I'm not sure if I should have gone to Ellen, since I would have probably embarrassed the church. Or someone else by asking, Ellen, do you know the Lord? And since that's what motivates me, I definitely would have asked her about her relationship with God if we had sat down. I adore God. People are free to do anything they choose. I've prayed for the individuals I've come across on the internet. But I don't know a lot about what people said because I came off the internet. Yes, I didn't even use social media. I wouldn't even bother to read it. I was off like January 1st. I was not allowed to read by my family. My phones were taken. Nothing. No, they said, this needs to go away. 2 weeks later, my brother suffered a stroke that ultimately claimed his life. Trying to observe him took up a lot of my life. He had just turned 50. He was the first child born to my mother. I was also given my name by my brother with whom I grew up. I'm going to tell you what truly benefited me, since my life went into that and I didn't pay attention to it. Since I've always conducted business in a discreet manner. I went to meet with Jay-Z when Kevin was still in the intensive care unit after I flew out to Los Angeles. Anyway, I got a call from Jay-Z. He says, "This time I need that, Kim, and will you come to LA?" I replied, "Yeah, no problem." I then asked my brother before I left him, "Kim, I always know when Beyoncé is going through something emotional or spiritual because I always hear you. She plays you really loudly through the house." In fact, his last words to me were, "Yeah, much success." I added, I got to go see Jay-Z. I take a plane to Los Angeles. For 2 hours, we sit and converse. I was so privileged to learn so much about Jay-Z that I will always believe in him as a person. Therefore, the church is free to join the trend and say whatever they choose. Snoop Dogg is one of the nicest individuals you'll ever meet. And I have 2 songs coming out on his new album, Bible of Love. This is where she delivers a cultural blow. The public is accused by Wright of blindly worshiping heroes. She almost mocks the ease with which narratives are taken at face value when she remarks, "We keep falling for the same nonsense over and over again. The Obamas continue to be political figures. Beyoncé and Jay-Z are considered cultural royalty, but she wonders out loud when these worlds intersect. Is it friendship, common values, or something far more calculating? There may be more to the clash of fame, wealth, and influence than meets the eye. Perhaps that's the point. I would arrive before the autumn." That's what I've heard. Yes, indeed. But I would like to point out that this does not lessen the number of examples that are truly in existence. Any accusations made against these people? Okay, but let's continue to focus on the goal of what's actually happening here. To be able to grab them at any moment, they only first placed compromised pawns on the chessboard. Music Power, you. Mean Electronic is asking, do you think major restructuring will happen in other spheres? Like a general takedown of power in hip-hop and more. I'm not quite sure what the question is asking. Hold on, I've removed that. Inquiring about the true scope of the restructuring and the shift in power relations. It will be radical, I see. Yes, virtual reality will be used. In other words, we've all already been prepared for it in various ways, right? We have a concept in popular culture that involves a non-role-playing, non-active character. What is it? NPC? Yes, that is who we are. Isn't that what mankind is? The movie will be Avatar. It will proceed to a San Francisco-based business. It is known as Linden Labs. They have a game called Ooh, but it's no longer truly a game. We refer to it as Second Life. That will therefore be carried out in every location, the adult industry. As we know, it will also go out of business as a result of this, as it is a significant source of revenue. And sure, feel free to have it, okay? Thus, the pawns on the chessboard are the means of this aggressive takeover. We witnessed Diddy's downfall. We've witnessed the start of Jay-Z's decline. It appears to be spreading through association. Additionally, Jay-Z and Beyoncé are most closely associated. Does it then proceed to her? Who else? Are there any other names available? Was that a yes, or is it something else? Was the answer yes? I wonder if she will be the next. I don't know. Indeed, what you're saying is that Rihanna, she, Jennifer, Lou, and anyone else who has been romantically involved with, married to, or quote-unquote, polyamorously associated with the man you mentioned earlier are likely to fall victim to this trap. We're going to defeat them. The sad thing is that there are countless young people and guys there who are simply waiting to take their place. Who is going to regulate this limitless supply? Right then shifts her attention, focusing on the me, to campaign and the faces that came to symbolize it. With she criticizes well-known people with scathing humor and a direct delivery, raising doubts about whether they actually embody the ideals they support. The issue is structural, since there is a tendency to choose popular figures who may not live up to their reputations but yet prosper without actual accountability. She presents it as a larger problem with the way society distributes moral authority, one that deprives the populace of knowledge and authority. Oh, of course, Bad Boy Records. What is the label of Sean Combs, by the way? Isn't that Bad Boy? What is Jay-Z's label, by the way? I already can't recall. I thought Rock and Rock Nation was a part of Rock Nation. Yes, as part of the build-up phase. It's always something both cool and horrible. We are currently at the takedown stage. Yes, exactly. They all work harder and more quickly than they ascend. Do you believe that the government, hip-hop, and the church are all going through the same thing in this power battle? Ivory courts? Are you referring to takedowns specifically? If we talk about the church, I believe the Catholic Church has been affected the most in the last 5 years. It appears to have subsided. I'm not sure if there has been any real internal reform, and I doubt that there will be any long-lasting change because I agree with the iron law of oligarchy, as defined by a thinker named Gene Mitchell. He says that when there is oligarchy, power will naturally be concentrated, and when power is concentrated, abuse of power will inevitably occur. Therefore, going it alone is the wisest course of action if we wish to live. One of the sayings was, do your thing. We're going to do it under Tommy Mata. But they said, okay, we're all going to do our things, but we're going to do it under Sony. It will be done under such and such. There are many different types of people whose names we can discuss here, really. Oligopoly is what that is. Therefore, it is our responsibility as common people to create creative expression forms that are by, for, and of our own communities. Who says we need to tour across multiple countries to be considered a real musician? Like, quote, Taylor Swift. She is also a construct, which is why I say, quote unquote. She has experienced difficulties with the publishing businesses. She re-recorded her own album, after all, so she could own it. Taylor Swift went through the same thing that people know about Prince and Michael Jackson's fate. What I'm trying to say is that a complete takedown will remove the chance of these disputes. particularly if someone seems to be overcoming these oligopolistic banking families and cartels. Therefore, Taylor Swift needs to have some really astute advisors behind her right now, because they will wait if she succeeds in her business strategy and challenges. The current music publishing system, when Michael Jackson was at his most vulnerable, they waited for him. They bided their time. Sony waited. Not that they are to blame for his demise, but they waited for the ideal moment when they could seize whatever he had. Agonies operate in this manner. They are also intergenerational. Therefore, they have it documented somewhere if you have a number on your back. Could you then just explain, in simple words, why Taylor Swift is currently being targeted? First of all, she recorded the whole thing, which is unusual in the history of recording. Returning to the Obamas, Jay-Z Wright explores what she considers to be the core of the issue. During his administration, Barack Obama worked hard to project a real persona, one that was contemporary, personable, and even hip. His celebrity friendships aided in the development of that brand. However, writing is not a harmless PR tactic. She is skeptical of what those decisions disclose, and she sees it as a decision about who gets close. According to her, this isn't a relatable dude. A leader is allying himself with influential people from a completely other field. Oh, I'm grateful. Oh, I'm grateful.